I just wanna kick things off with a quote here, if I can get it up and running here. It's a quote by Alexander Graham Bell, and here's basically what it says. What this power is, I cannot say. All I know is that it exists, and it becomes available only when a man is in a state of mind in which he knows exactly what he wants and is fully determined not to quit until he finds it. So I think that's kind of a perfect quote heading into the second week, because, sometimes around the beginning of the training, people are anxious. They haven't, really started to see some things happen, and you guys just have to trust us and how we've laid out this training. If you just take action at the end of these calls and you do basically what we tell you to do and what Eric is teaching, you guys are going to be successful. So having said that, just want to bring Eric on the line. We're gonna shoot for a 90-minute training here. I know last week, we kind of went a little over 2 hours, so we definitely want to give you guys everything you need within a 90-minute session. So, Eric, man, thanks again, dude.
Thanks, Alex. Good evening, guys. It's good to be back on week 2. We got a lot of information to cover, and like Alex said, we want to try to keep it within the 90 minutes today. So with that being said, we're going to get right to work, because there's a lot of good info. I want to say thanks to everyone that has been emailing me through coaching@flipcrushers.com. A lot of you are already going out there and taking action, which is important, the first step. So tonight we're going to be talking about how to find motivated sellers, locating prospects. And really, guys, this is the key to your business. Without marketing, and without motivated sellers in your life, you have no wholesaling business. So it starts here, really. Last week we talked about the mindset and getting your thought process on track. I hope, everyone worked on that last week and everyone's, already having a positive mindset, going into module 2. I know a lot of you, are already going out there and starting to do stuff, and, that mindset was already there for some of you, and some of you are still kind of working on it, as I can see from the emails, but, that's just going to help you, further along the process as we go through each module. So anyway, tonight, module 2, locating prospects and attracting motivated sellers. What is a motivated seller? Some of you guys might already know this, some of you may not, but, people, basically a seller is anyone who wants to, I'm starting this off wrong. What is a motivated seller? So it's somebody that needs to sell versus not want to sell. And it's funny because when we talk about it next week in pre-screening sellers, I mean, you're gonna know right away whether or not someone needs to sell and whether or not someone wants to sell. Usually someone that wants to sell, they're kind of hesitant on on answering all your questions. People that need to sell, they're in a desperate situation. Again, we've been talking about that, as a wholesaler, as an investor, as somebody who buys houses, you're the guardian angel for some of these people. So these people are so anxious that they need to sell that they're going to come and, answer any questions that you might have. And you'll see that a lot of the times they'll jump through hoops to give you the information and to make it known that, they have a problem and that they want you to help them. So, that's just the first part of what a motivated seller is. And again, that goes into that second line item. People that want to deal with you and, people that don't want to deal with you. Again, next week's going to be pretty cool because we're going to be on the phone, pre-screening some sellers, which is going to be awesome. Me, being on the phone and going through some calls that I take in my very business. And you're going to see, that there's going to be some people that want to deal with me and there's going to be some people that don't want to deal with me. And obviously the people that are motivated are the people that want to deal with me. A motivated seller is also somebody who's not looking for retail value. Guys, it's simple. If someone's house is worth $100,000 and they're asking $100,000, it's not a deal. Move on to the next one. It was funny. I was actually talking with somebody today and, it doesn't make sense to try to figure out if a deal is a deal. If it's not a deal, it's really black and white. If their asking price is $50,000 and the house is worth $100,000, it's potentially a deal. Obviously we got to look at the repairs and stuff, but the house has equity. This business is all about equity and providing equity to our cash buyers. And if someone is looking for retail value, you need to whack them, get them out of your life as soon as possible because they're going to steal your dreams. That goes hand in hand with the next point. People who are willing to sell their home at a discount. Again, guys, it's people that, they have a tough situation for whatever reason. They need to get rid of their house. You're their problem solver. I want to talk a little bit about some of the problems that some of these motivated sellers might have. You know, there's a ton of problems. Over the years, I've seen, you know, people with so many different situations, and, you know, it's kind of funny because, you know, myself or not even anybody on the call, or maybe some of you on the call have been in some of these similar type situations, but, you know, for the most part, you know, we're not in this situation because that's why, you know, we buy and sell real estate. We're kind of on the other side of the spectrum, but these people are suffering some type of problem that they just need help with. You know, sometimes these people don't even know that they can sell their house. You know, until you tell them, yes, you know, Mr. Seller, yes, Mrs. Seller, you can sell your house. All you got to do is sign here on the dotted line. You know, I actually had a seller tell me that one time. So what are some of the problems that motivated sellers deal with? Well, I mean, there's a ton of them. Here's just a list of some of the problems that people might have. You know, maybe they just need to sell quickly. You know, maybe, you know, they just got a new job and, you know, they need to transfer out of there really quick and they just don't have time to list it with the realtor. You know, whenever you sell a house with whenever you list a house with a realtor, it can take a couple months to sell. You know, maybe that house is ugly and vacant. You know, we've talked a lot about ugly vacant houses. You know, people have ugly vacant houses for many reasons, and a lot of the reasons are right here on this slide. So, you know, maybe it's a house, and maybe it doesn't even need to be vacant. Maybe it's just ugly, you know, which goes hand in hand with the next bullet point, which is house needs repairs. You know, I've seen a lot of people that, you know, I walked into their house, you know, sellers that I walked into their house and, you know, you're just like, wow, you know, how does somebody live in a situation like this? You know, this isn't even healthy. You know, they have kids and stuff. I'll tell you guys a little story, and this might be a little gross, but this is some of the types of things you'll see. I'll never forget it. It was back home in Miami, Florida. There was a lady I went to go visit, and she had 8 kids. She was a single mom, but her house was deteriorated, you know, full of needing repairs, and the house was infested with cockroaches. Literally, while I'm standing in the living room, there's cockroaches crawling on the kids. And the kids don't even know any better because they think it's normal, because they've always grown up in that type of situation. So, you know, you need to be prepared for some of the situations that might arise. And I'll tell you guys, this is a real business and these are real life situations. I mean, let me tell you, I was grossed out. My contractor, who is a Jamaican guy who's not scared of anything, you know, back home, his name was Lennox. I'll never forget him. He walked into that house and said, Eric, man, I don't even want to walk in this house. You know, I'm terrified. You know, so those are some of the types of things that, you know, you'll find in some of these houses. You know, maybe they're in foreclosure. You know, maybe they lost a job. Maybe they're behind on their payments. You know, something happened in their life where, you know, they fell behind. You know, we're in a foreclosure crisis right now, guys. This is probably the worst. We'll never see this many foreclosures for a lot of our lifetimes. You know, maybe none of us. You know, it's crazy how many people are losing their houses out there. Maybe the house is fire damaged. You know, fires happen all the time. You know, you constantly see it on I'm sorry, not on the internet, but you see it on the news all day. You know, you just turn on your local news and you'll see the houses are burning up all the time. You know, behind on mortgage payments obviously goes in with foreclosure. Maybe they're just relocating. I already talked about that. Maybe they're suffering a divorce. You know, a lot of people go through divorce. I mean, hell, I don't know what the divorce ratio is nowadays, but I know it's up there. My parents are divorced. I'm sure, you know, some of you on the call might be divorced. I mean, these things happen, and you know, whenever there's finances and divorce involved, I mean, it's a tough situation, and you can imagine. I'm sure somebody on the call can relate. Maybe they've had bad tenants, you know, that screwed up the house and didn't pay them, or, you know, they're just tired of being a landlord. Maybe there's liens on the property. You know, you'll start to see that a lot of these people, you know, maybe don't maintain their grass, and then the city comes and gives them fines for having long grass, or, you know, maybe they have like an IRS lien. They didn't pay their taxes. You know, I've seen some houses where, you know, somebody had, I think the most I ever saw was like a $60,000 IRS tax lien. You know, these things happen. They're going to owe liens, and those things will attach to the seller, and they'll attach to the property. Maybe they're 100% financed. Maybe they have no equity. And, you know, for wholesaling, that doesn't really apply too much, but, you know, for those of you that understand short sales, and, you know, that's a completely different business, but, you know, hey, you know, you can short sale houses and then, you know, wholesale them afterwards. Maybe it's an estate sale, which is, probate, which goes hand in hand with, death in the family. You know, probate is huge in my business. You know, I'm constantly dealing with people that inherited properties. You know, and it's a great business because these people inherit properties and they're like, wow, I didn't even know I inherited this sometimes, you know. I know myself personally, I still don't know everything that my parents have. You know, my dad's from India. He's got a bunch of real estate in India. You know, I need to sit down with him one day and figure out everything he's got, you know, because sometimes, you know, something can happen from one day to the other, and you inherit all this stuff, and you don't even know that you own all this stuff. That'll happen. Maybe a failing business, failing health. Talk about inherited property. Maybe they just want to move. Maybe they're just sick of living where they're at. They're tired. People just get sick of life sometimes, and they get fed up for whatever reason. Maybe somebody that is a motivated seller is somebody that had their property on the market for a while, and that's where expired listings come into play. A lot of people go to sell their houses and they never sell them because, number one, they hired a wrong realtor. The realtor told them to list it for a certain price, and it's really not worth that. So it sits on the year for 6 months to 9 months, or maybe even a year, and they're just pissed off. They're just frustrated. So they start looking for other ways to sell their house, and then they go ahead and they try to sell their house at a discount. Maybe they're an absentee owner. Maybe they live out of state, or maybe just even in another city in the same state. And, that's a big area, guys, for motivated sellers. Because, myself personally, I'm always mailing to absentee owners because think about it, even myself now, I have a property in Miami right now that I have as one rental right now. And I wish I didn't have it. I really wish I didn't have it. And, it's just a pain in the neck to manage something that's 1,500 miles away. I'm sure maybe some of you on the call tonight, might even own properties, and you know what it's like. Maybe somebody's filing for bankruptcy. They just, maybe a combination of these things happen to them, and they don't even know what's going to happen. And, they file for bankruptcy, and they're in a tough situation. They got no money. There's no money in their checking account. So these are all things that are going to happen, guys. And these are things that you're looking for in a motivated seller. Motivated sellers, they want to sell their houses because they're looking for you to figure out their problem for one of these types of situations. And there might be a situation on here that I haven't listed, but just to kind of give you an idea of the type of people that we're going to be dealing with. And just so you guys know, the business of wholesaling houses is the distressed market business. Distressed homes, that's a $1 billion a year industry. So just imagine if you could have, just a portion of that business, how much, what could that do for you? But again, these are the types of people that we're going to be dealing with. So guys, there's only 2 ways to find motivated sellers. I don't care what anybody tells you. There's only 2 ways. And you might be thinking, oh man, 2 ways? I thought there might have been 50. Well, this is kind of from a general standpoint. And that's really finding people that have a house for sale, or have an interest in selling it, in selling a house, and you call them, right? So that's kind of like cold calling, or sending, calling a for sale by owner and saying, hey, I saw your house is for sale, and, I'm interested in buying because I buy houses for cash. So we either need to find people that have a house for sale, or we need to use different marketing strategies to generate leads and get sellers to call us. So we either call them or they call us. That's it. There's no other ways to find motivated sellers. And again, guys, this is just talking in a very general spectrum, but I want to make this simple for you guys because a lot of you complicate the business. Oh no, how is it that I find motivated sellers? Well, hell, these are your 2 general responses. They either got to call you or you got to call them. And if you don't do, if one of those 2 don't happen, if you don't either implement some marketing strategies or you don't pick up the phone and call them, you're not going to have motivated sellers in your life. So just kind of put that in the back of your mind and say, okay, these are the things that I got to be doing to start to attract motivated sellers because really, it really is pretty simple at the end of the day. Obviously, we're going to talk about different marketing strategies and how to get these motivated sellers, and that's what today's webcam is all about. So we're going to get right into it. Grab a pen, grab a paper, and take notes, guys, and listen, because this is where you're going to start to make money in your business, and this is where, again, without motivated sellers, your wholesale business is really nothing. So what are some different marketing strategies to find motivated sellers? I think tonight we're going to talk about 12 or 13 of them. So there's definitely a lot of ways to find motivated sellers. You might have thought to yourself, oh, maybe there's only 5 or 6 ways. No, there's double that. There's a lot of ways to find motivated sellers. And actually, right now that I'm just thinking about it, I'm going to throw in a couple other things that I didn't have in this PowerPoint presentation, but, we'll go through it and kind of go through each one. So, a lot of you saw how we use bandit signs to, find cash buyers, obviously through the pre-launch videos. But we also use bandit signs to find motivated sellers. For those of you that were on the question and answer, session on Friday, I think it might have been Larry, that he used some signs to, find some motivated sellers. And he actually, it was funny. We were talking about positioning of signs, and he put out one sign, and for whatever reason, that one sign was getting more calls than any other sign. And, he was able to find a seller, and I believe he was going to be getting it under contract, or if not, I think he already had it under contract, and he's going to be giving us an update on Friday. So, it's crazy. I haven't even talked about it, but some of you guys are already implementing it, in your business. So, bandit signs are pretty simple, guys. They're inexpensive, and they generate a boatload of leads. Obviously, bandit signs are the same. They come in white and yellow are the most common colors. I don't recommend you get like a red bandit sign, right? Those things are dark. White and yellow are things that stand out. You want to either write, you want to use a permanent marker to write on these signs. Either a red, permanent marker or a black permanent marker. Personally, I just like black. And what is it that these signs are going to say? Well, it's simple. They're not going to have any pretty pictures. They're not going to have any creative designs. It's simple, guys. It's going to say one of these things that I have here. For example, we buy houses, I buy houses, we buy houses cash, or I buy houses cash. Really big. And these signs, guys, they don't need to be, pretty looking signs. I think I've mentioned a couple times that sometimes sellers are more attracted to an ugly looking sign because they feel, if my house is ugly, then, if I call an ugly sign, maybe that person isn't an absolute professional. Maybe it's somebody that I can relate with. These people are scared of sometimes, a professional businessman or a businesswoman that show up in a shirt and a tie and a suit. These guys want to talk to somebody that's at their level. So don't worry about these signs being all pretty, guys. It can be ugly. Obviously you've seen my signs. My handwriting is terrible. People tell me I need to improve it all the time, but you know what? It works and it gets calls and it relates to these motivated sellers. So you can either get these signs pre-printed, that say we buy houses, with your phone number on them, or you can get, or you can write them yourself. You never want to clutter the signs. You want to use bold letters, and only the important words, which is we buy houses, something that goes to the effect that you buy houses. It can even be creative, but you know what? Through my experience of the 5 years of doing this, I like we buy houses personally. And even if you're thinking, it's just me, it's just one person buying houses. Hey, it doesn't matter. When you put we buy houses, sometimes that's more, powerful. It's a couple guys that buy houses. It's just not one guy. And it's kind of a psyche almost, to what the sellers, are going to be thinking. But, you can try either or and just test on which one works better in your particular city. I talked about the uglier the better. Again, they're discouraged by professional looking people sometimes. That's why when I go out and meet these sellers, I kind of, dress very casually. And what is it that you write on these signs, guys? Well, let me show you an example of a sign. This is exactly what it's got to look like. This is a pre-printed sign, obviously. All it's got to say is we buy houses. This is an 18 by 24 chloroplast yellow bandit sign, and it'll have your phone number. Now, for the purposes of this training, we haven't really gotten into, how to take the phone calls, but, we'll get into all that next week and a little bit about it tonight. But I always put my live answering service right there down at the bottom. I always use a local phone number, because local phone numbers are, again, they relate to sellers a little bit better. They don't want to see that, it's this big corporate image. And on this particular example here, on this bandit sign, this is just a picture that I found. They put an 866 number here. It's not a bad idea to even maybe have both phone numbers on there. You can have a 1-800 number on there and a local number. So some sellers like a more professional approach. Some sellers like a more laid back approach, and they want to dial local numbers. So, you can either put a local number. My suggestions are you can either put a local number by itself, right? Or you can put a 1-800 number combined with a local number. But don't put a 1-800 number, by itself, because I think you're going to lose a lot of people that might say, oh no, this person isn't local. They might not understand my needs, or they might not understand this particular, neighborhood. So they get a little discouraged that way. So, guys, it's simple. This is what they got to look like. Nothing fancy. Big bold letters. If you see it, just picture the sign, out on the street somewhere, you're going to see it, and it's going to stand out and people are going to call you, and you need to make sure that phone number is big. I think, we talked about maybe on a Q&A session last Friday again that some people were writing some signs, or I think Alex is even the one that mentioned it, that some people write the phone numbers real small. The most important thing is the phone number, guys, because if they don't have your phone number, they're not going to call you. They're not going to be able to see it. Again, remember, some of these people might be wearing glasses. Some people's eyesight, these people don't have money, so maybe their eyesight's bad and they can't see from far. You need to assume the worst. So,
quick question, man. If people are just starting out and they've never put out bandit signs, would you recommend that they, put them out themselves, take the calls themselves, and then eventually, once they start doing some deals, outsource that so that they're focusing on, doing deals and not necessarily some of this kind of grunt work?
Yeah, well, definitely, Alex. I mean, I think, when you're first starting out, you want to keep your business at a budget, and, you want to put out signs yourself, because it could get kind of pricey. Not that it's expensive, but, again, if you're working on a budget, you might want to, put out some signs yourself, and then afterwards, as you become, as you start doing deals and you're more experienced and you can, have more time on your hands, you can go ahead and start hiring somebody to put out these signs. I've done it before. Obviously there's a system in play to put that in, and we're going to be talking about that in the bonus modules, in the advanced tips and techniques, on how to automate your business. Because obviously you don't want to be putting out bandit signs for the rest of your life. So I know, Alex, you're big on automating the business, but yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah, perfect.
So, I mean, pretty simple, guys. It's just a bandit sign. It's amazing how these things work, and I use these every single day in my business. Method number 2, to find some motivated sellers. And again, we got a bunch to talk about, guys, so I'm just going to go through this and give you guys as much information as possible. Vacant houses. We talked a lot about this, and you've seen me in the pre-launch videos, but, a lot of you are still asking me questions about, the ugly vacant houses, and we need to cover them. So for those of you that kind of got this down packed, just sit tight, we'll get through it. And, it doesn't hurt to go through the information again because you always learn. So I always think that driving, neighborhoods and looking for ugly vacant houses is a gold mine. Guys, there's a ton of ugly vacant houses everywhere. They're sitting there for a reason because they're, that homeowner is in a distressed situation. Like, we talked about some of the problems on the previous slide. We need to find these houses, find the seller, send them a yellow letter, and get them under contract and wholesale these houses. And what are some of the things that determine what an ugly vacant house is? Christopher in my pre-launch video, my student, he found a really ugly one, but broken windows, boarded up windows, long grass, yellow pages, sitting on the front porch. You'll see a lot of that stuff. Whenever you see like a stack of yellow pages right there on the front porch, or you see some newspaper in the actual bag that they come in. I mean, sometimes these things stack up. Yellow crime tape. I've gone to a house before where, I saw, I think a combination of these things. I saw, yellow crime tape. It had an abandoned car in the front of the house, which isn't on this list. It had broken windows. It had yellow pages in the front of the house. It had a mailbox that was full of mail. And guys, it's not that hard. If you're driving around in a neighborhood and for whatever reason you stop, and your reticular activating system activates, and you say, whoa, man, something about this house just looks weird, then you know what? It's probably an ugly vacant house. And you probably have to start working it. You got to take down the address. You got to go through the processes of finding that seller, just like I've shown you in those in the pre-launch videos, and go after that deal. Guys, the first deal that I ever did here in Dallas, Texas was an ugly vacant house deal, and that got me fired up when I did it because I was like, man, you know what? This works anywhere. There's ugly vacant houses. I don't care where you are, where you live. There's vacant houses everywhere. Small town, big city. There was a guy on the phone on Friday who was saying, I think he was maybe like 60 miles out of Las Vegas, and he was kind of saying how he's in a little small town. I can't remember his name, but hey, there's ugly vacant houses in his town too. I guarantee it. They're everywhere. People have these people are in distressed situations no matter where you're at. So go out there and start looking for these things. This is a picture of a really ugly vacant house. I mean, if you drive by this thing, obviously it's going to catch your attention. So this one's got a combination of things. It's fire damage, boarded up windows, broken windows, long grass. It's got graffiti right down the bottom right-hand corner of the house. So this is the type of things we're looking for, guys. Obviously they're not going to be this ugly every single time, but I want to get my point across. Houses like this exist all over the place. And you might think, man, I don't know, I've never seen something like this. Well, you know what? It's because you haven't been looking. And once you start looking, I guarantee you're going to start seeing a bunch of them all over the place. You know, it's funny. Right across the street from where I live now, I was actually, dating a girl, and I never knew that there was a townhouse right across the street from my house that was fire damaged until she told me about it. And we'll get into talking about bird dogs actually right now. There was a fire damaged townhouse there. Long story short, I ended up going, the second she told me about it, I jumped in my car and I drove across the street, and I looked at the house. I said, man, this is a fantastic neighborhood, obviously, because it's right across the street from my house. I ended up looking up the name, on the tax roll. I sent the seller a yellow letter. She ended up calling me, and, after a couple of months of working it, I put it under contract for 90, and I sold it in 15 minutes for 105,000. And it was literally right across the street from my house. So they're everywhere. They're in your neighborhoods. You just gotta look. And as far as bird dogs, guys, I mean, when you start, and we're going to be talking about it here once we get to business cards, but, when you're in this business, you need to tell everybody that you buy houses. Tell them that, and I don't want to jump ahead of myself, but this kind of goes hand in hand with bird dogs. You want to tell them that, you want to pay them either $500 or $1,000 for any house that they find for you that's ugly and vacant and result in a closed real estate transaction.
Eric, you know what? I gotta give you props, man, because even here in Miami, I mean, there was never really like competition between us. We were each doing our own deals, but I mean, Eric's somehow mastered like just telling everyone and their mom that he bought houses. I mean, I remember being Eric, I think we might have been in South Beach or downtown Miami. We were at this club, and I remember you giving your business card to either the bartender or someone you were meeting at the bar. Yeah. And I was laughing to myself, but I'm like, damn, that's smart, dude. Why am I not doing that?
Yeah. I mean, it's a great tool, and we're going to talk about it once we get to business cards. But for example, even the girl that I was dating that, showed me this townhouse right across the street, I told her, hey, if you ever find me a house, I want to pay you, and I'm going to pay you for helping me do my business. Cause, granted, that deal, I made $15,000, right? But because she knew that I bought houses, and, she had a little incentive on, maybe writing down the address and telling me where it was, when I closed on that deal, I paid her $1,000. I mean, and at that particular time, when I closed on that transaction, we weren't dating anymore, but I called her and I said, hey, guess what? We just closed on that deal that you told me about. And she's like, oh, awesome. I'm so happy for you. And I said, hey, what address can I send the check to? Because I got a $1,000 check for you. She was so thankful when she got that check, especially, she was in a tough situation, but she was so thankful. And you know what? Right now, she's actually feeding me some more leads. And it's crazy because especially once somebody sees that you perform and you actually pay them that referral fee. I mean, hell, we made $15,000 and I paid her $1,000. So at the end of the day, I netted $14,000. Was it worth it for me to tell her that, I bought houses and that I would pay her $1,000? Of course. And now she continues to feed me leads on a daily basis. Whenever she drives around and maybe sees something that kind of just looks weird, and I tell her exactly what I'm looking for. So the power of bird dogs, is powerful. It doesn't matter where you're at, like Alex said, I was at the club and I'm handing out business cards telling people I buy houses. Guys, anywhere, the grocery store, the post office, wherever you might be, you need to be telling people you hand out, not that you hand out, I'm sorry, that you buy houses. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about it when we get to the business cards and bird dogs and stuff. But guys, it's a powerful tool, and ugly vacant houses can be a huge part in your business. To be honest, I do 25 to 30% of the deals that I do are ugly vacant houses. And I have a team that goes out there and bird dogs that go out there and, consistently find houses for me. And just another quick tip, on these bird dogs, sometimes you can get maybe like a college student, that's, maybe just willing to work for you because they want to learn, the real estate business. And maybe you don't even need to pay them to bring you these leads. But what they're gaining out of it is the knowledge of how to buy and sell real estate. And this is powerful stuff. And, sometimes you can pay them, maybe $1 per lead that they bring you. And you can kind of work that out. I mean, these are just some suggestions. I would say that, either they can work for you as kind of an internship and just, solely gain knowledge on how to buy and sell houses. Number two, you can pay them $1 per lead that they bring you, or you could pay them, a referral fee, as, $500 to $1,000 every time you close a transaction. And that's just powerful stuff, guys. If you can have Imagine if you have 5 to 10 more people looking at ugly vacant houses for you every single day. You know, how many more leads would you have? How many more deals would you do? You know, powerful
Eric,
stuff.
and you kind of spilled the beans there a little bit, but guys, just so you know, in one of the bonus modules, I think it's advanced tips, tricks, and techniques, we're going to show you exactly how you can, exactly what Eric said, is hire people for free. And I have, Eric and I have firsthand knowledge and experience with this is, if you just go to your local college, you can get interns that'll work for you for free, put out bandit signs, be your bird dog. So, there's some really cool stuff we're going to be showing you in that bonus module, but that's a great free tip right now that if you're on a shoestring budget, even if you're not, you can get people working for you for free. So, that's a great tip, Eric.
Yeah, look at me all giving away good stuff. So anyway, guys, enough on ugly vacant houses. No doubt about it, you need to be going out there and doing the stuff. If you're not, your business is hurting, and you're not taking your wholesale business to the maximum that it could, to its maximum potential. Another way to find motivated sellers, guys, the third way is classified ads. And this is probably one of my favorite ways to find deals. Whenever, one of the first things that I did when I got here to Dallas was place a ad in, a local newspaper. It's one of the best types of marketing. Everybody should be doing it. It is going to cost you something. And I'll talk about average type of prices, but depending where you're at, you want to advertise in either local newspapers, flyer ads, thrifty nickels, penny savers. Myself personally, I advertise in 2 publications here in Dallas. One called the Dallas Morning News, which is the main newspaper that is distributed throughout Dallas-Fort Worth. And the other one is the Green Sheet. The Green Sheet is kind of like a local flyer where you can find it anywhere. It's literally at every gas station, at every Walmart that you walk into, every Target, 7-Elevens, things like that. And this is kind of like a shotgun approach, guys, but I'll tell you, the price of these ads, is relatively cheap, compared to the amount of deals that you do. Sometimes on a classified ad, you can do 4 to 5 deals a year, which might not seem like a lot to you, but if you make $10,000 a deal, was the maybe $200 or $300 that you spent on a monthly basis for that ad worth it? Of course it is. I've placed ads in classified ads before where I did one deal and it paid for the entire year of that cost of marketing. And it's funny because a lot of people will put classified ads in, and essentially what we're doing here, guys, is putting We Buy Houses ads in the classified section. I failed to mention that. And in the next slide, I'm going to show you a sample exactly of what to do it. But a lot of people will put classified ads in there and, they'll put a We Buy Houses ad there, in the real estate section. And, they'll say, oh, you know what? I didn't get any calls this week, or I didn't get any good calls this week. And then they take the ad out and then, they don't place it the next week, but they place it the following week. But you know what, guys? That's a huge, huge mistake because you never know when a motivated seller is going to call you. You need to put those We Buy Houses ads in these classified papers and never, ever, ever take them out because you just never know when they're going to call. And they need to be under the real estate section because these motivated sellers can call you at any time. It's a great way of finding, sellers. And it works everywhere. I have classified ads in Miami to this day and I still have them here in Dallas and they work like magic. This is kind of what they look like. This is actually, I just actually updated my personal ad, not too long ago, in the Dallas Morning News. And it's funny because in the Dallas Morning News, these were the ads that were in there. My ad is the ad on the bottom. And I want to talk about a couple tricks for when you're posting these ads in your classified sections. Number one, you always want to make sure that it's simple text. If you look at my ad there at the bottom, hey, we buy houses. Any price, condition, or price range. And that phone number is the phone number. It's a local phone number, number one. And, it goes straight to my answering service, which we'll talk about. But, I wanted to make my ad a little bit different. Notice how everybody, and you kind of want to do this when you're looking at your local newspaper and when you're looking at your competition. Notice how everyone has a border around their ad except mine. Why? Because I don't want to be like everybody else. I want to stand out. And notice how nobody has spacing. Like, for example, on that top ad where it says cash for, the first ad, there's no real space between the border and that first line of words. In my ad at the bottom where it says we buy houses, there's a space at the top and the bottom of where the ad starts and where it ends. And the reason for that, and that's kind of a little advertising trick there. I mean, it just makes the ad stand out a little bit more. So let's say that, you open your local newspaper and you saw that nobody had a border, around their classified ads. Well, maybe you would probably consider putting a border around your ad because in that sense it would stand out. So guys, in my opinion, I look at this ad and mine stands out from everybody else. We buy houses is huge and, the phone number is huge. It's just these other guys, I mean, to be honest, they got nothing on my ad. It's kind of funny. I'm looking at it. I'm actually kind of proud of it because if you look at some of these other ads, they're just way too cluttered. Especially that, the second and the third one, sell today, cash for your house, as is, call Mary. Nobody cares about Mary. Who's married? You don't need to put your name in there. Don't put a picture of yourself in there. People want to know that you buy houses in any price, any condition, or price range. I don't know. In the third ad, in that third ad, we cancel foreclosures. I mean, to me, that doesn't even make sense. That confuses me, guys. People need to know that you buy houses. I put this same ad that I put, right there at the bottom. I use this ad everywhere I go. Dallas Morning News. It's in the Miami Herald back at home in Miami. It's in the local green sheet here. I have a couple of these ads in some little, at some coffee shops that I use, that have like little local publications. But these are important, guys. And this ad I never take out. I'll tell you what, I think, this year alone, what's funny is that I actually, just updated this ad in the Dallas Morning News, cause they were pretty expensive for a while and then they just dropped their rate. So I finally decided to put an ad in there. And I think, I put the ad in there 2 weeks ago and last week, I had a seller call me, with a great deal in Carrollton, Texas. And I'm probably going to be getting it under contract here probably Tuesday or Wednesday. I saw it over the weekend. I made him an offer. He's talking it over with his sister and I'm looking to get the deal done. At the end of the day, I'll probably make about, $8,000 or $9,000 off of the deal. And this ad is only costing me, I think, maybe $250 a month. So guys, there's going to be an expense in some of your marketing. And again, I'm not saying you absolutely have to do this, but if you're serious about this business and if you're serious about elevating and getting more motivated sellers in your life, it's $250 a month worth it. For me it is. I mean, look, I've had the ad in there less than 2 weeks and I'll probably make, 8 or 9 grand in maybe a month's time. And I might not get any calls, for the next, or not calls, but I might not get any good leads for the next couple of weeks, but you just never know when a motivated seller is going to pick up that newspaper and call. So never ever take it out. Guys, this is powerful stuff. Make sure your ad stands out, and check prices. When you call the local newspaper, that you're working with, tell them, is that the best you can do? Tell them that you're going to have your ad in there, forever and ever, and you never want to take it out. What's the best price you can give me? Make sure you kind of mirror my ad there. I mean, guys, that's a fantastic ad right there. So this is kind of, one of the ways this is actually one of my favorite ways, classified ads. It works great and you can implement it right away. I mean, you can literally make a phone call and, put an ad like this in the paper and they can probably have it up for you by Friday and you start getting calls the next day. So, that's classified ads. Another way of finding motivated sellers is direct mail. We've been talking about the yellow letter a lot, and the yellow letter is obviously fantastic. Why? Because it gives you an absolutely ridiculously high response rate, 30%. Some guy told me the other day, one of my students actually, one of you guys told me that you were getting a 40% response rate on the yellow letter. I was like, man, that's awesome. So that means if you sent out 1,000 letters, you're going to get 400 calls. That's a hell of a lot of calls. I mean, that's crazy. 40% response rate. So, yellow letters, guys, they can be pricey if you pay someone to write them for you. We're going to talk about, actually, we'll talk about it now. There's some services. I think actually somebody had a question on the question and answer session on Friday. And for those, again, for those of you guys that missed it, make sure you replay it because there's powerful stuff on there. And, there was a guy that was asking, hey, Eric, do I need to write all these yellow letters myself? Well, you can. When I first started the business, man, I was sitting there and writing a bunch of yellow letters with my partners and just making sure that we got them out as soon as possible. But we took the time and we were dedicated and motivated to make this work. We knew it was going to work and we continued to send out yellow letters. after a while, just kind of like Alex said, we want to automate this business. So we started paying someone to write them for us. On average, you can probably expect to pay maybe, probably $1.39 or $1.49 around there for someone to write these yellow letters for you. And it's crazy. You might not think they do it, but they handwrite everything. One of the services that I use is yellowlettersdoneforyou.com, and that's on the Flip Crushers Rolodex. And I believe they charge $1.39 a letter, and they handwrite the envelopes, they stamp them, they put your return address on them, and they write every single letter. Crazy, huh? I had no idea that service even existed until I got into business. So yellow letters, a lot of you are implementing that already in your business, and they work. Postcards is another way to find motivated sellers, guys. A lot of you, actually some of you have told me that you've used postcards before, and through the email coaching have asked me, hey, what should I use? Should I use yellow letters or postcards? Well, from my experience, and this is probably just the truth, postcards, they give you a lower response rate. Why? Why is that? Well, they're not as personal. Guys, the yellow letter is such a personal letter, it's ridiculous. I showed you guys in that, my first pre-launch video how I sent a letter to myself, and I was like, man, I'm an idiot. I sent it to myself. That's pretty funny. That's how powerful that letter is. But postcards, they're kind of a lower response rate because, somebody will receive it and, it'll be a big flyer that says, hey, we buy houses cash and, call if you're interested. And it's more like a professional looking, marketing piece. They're also less expensive and you can probably reach more people, because again, you're paying less and you can probably send it out to a lot more, and it's more of a shotgun approach versus a more targeted approach. But, you might not get a higher response rate. So people always ask me, hey, Eric, should I send out yellow letters or should I send out postcards? In my personal opinion, I like yellow letters better because I get the higher response rate. To me, sometimes it's quality, over quantity, and I'm not saying you can't do deals with postcards because I've done deals before. It just might take a little longer. Maybe when you send out a postcard, sometimes sellers don't call you for 6 months down the line because they'll just keep it in their kitchen cabinet, in their kitchen drawer and say, oh, I'll call them when I'm ready, but they are effective. So, I know a lot of you have had access to the yellow letter. Obviously we have it on the membership side, and I just kind of wanted to show you, what it looks like for those of you that maybe haven't looked at it yet. It's a simple letter, guys. Dear seller, hi, my name is, Eric Bodiwala. My brother, Alex and I would like to buy your house at, 123 Elm Street. Please call us at, a phone number and, with the salutation, please call, thanks. And then my signature. Nothing crazy. Obviously the envelope is, handwritten, and I have everything kind of written out there. And, again, I like to address it to sometimes only the first name. Or you can put, first and last name or just last name. Those are just kind of tricks that you can try. Personally, I like first name. When you write a letter to only Eric or only Alex, it catches somebody's attention a little bit more. You can kind of do that with yellow letters versus postcards. You don't really have that luxury of doing all that stuff. And again, guys, the yellow letter works and it's powerful. Now, this is an example of a postcard that, I actually use in my business. I think some of you already know because some of you know me locally here, but the name of my business is My Fast Home Buyers. Obviously we're all over the place and we got our logo and stuff, but I created this postcard, for one of our mailings, and it's pretty informative. I worked on this postcard. I kind of took a bunch of different postcards and I created a master, Pimp Daddy postcard if you want to call it, but I think it's pretty cool. It catches your attention. The front of it, the top left-hand corner, sell your house now. We buy houses cash fast. Call today. You want these sellers to know that you want them to take action now. You can either put call today or call now. They have two ways to reach me. By a 1-800 number, 1-800 number, a toll-free number, or they have a local phone number they can reach me at. And they also have my website. I want to let them know that we buy in any area, any condition, any price range. And some guy there just, it was actually funny when we started creating this postcard. Everyone was like, Eric, why don't you put your face on there with holding money? I'm like, no. I don't want to be on the postcard. Again, guys.
Smart man, dude. Don't put your face on a postcard if you want people to call you.
Yeah. Again, guys, people don't care what you look like. Look, someone's not going to buy a house from you because you're ugly or you're cute. They don't care. The reason I put that guy there is because I want to show them that we're paying cash for the house. I think he's holding like $100 bills or something. So, It was just kind of showing them the message that, hey, we do buy houses for cash. On the back of the postcard, I kind of outlined a couple of the reasons why, if they're suffering from any of these types of situations that we talked about, need to sell quickly, is your house vacant, need repairs, in foreclosure. I put a picture there of two ugly houses, because I'll buy them either ugly or pretty. It doesn't really matter. Obviously it all depends on what the situation is of the seller. Guys, I bought houses from sellers that, they had a beautiful house, either needed 0 repairs or maybe just $5,000 in repairs. And something happened in their life and they had to sell the house. I think that's an actual house, that picture where that pretty house there, on that flyer is an actual house that I bought. I mean, you can tell, it's a pretty looking house and we bought it at a pretty heavy discount just because the seller was in a bad situation. I can't remember what it was, but, we ended up buying it. And then also here on this postcard, I tell them, I'm very informative on these postcards. This is more like a corporate type approach, because that's what you can do on these postcards. So I tell them quick closings, fast cash, no fees, no closing costs or commissions. Guys, you want to make it sound like you're paying for everything, and you do that, and we'll talk about that once we get into constructing and presenting offers, but you want to tell them that you're not a realtor, because a lot of people ask you, oh, are you a realtor? No, sir. No, ma'am. I'm an investment and we buy houses for cash. We handle all the fees, all the closing costs, there is no commissions when you deal with us. We handle all the paperwork. Make them feel that they're comfortable with the situation and that, you're going to handle their problem. Again, you're their guardian angel to their problem. And then again, hey, look, call us to find out how we can solve your problem. I'm trying to connect with them. Again, the toll-free number, the local number, and then my website. Cause guys, the internet is huge and we're going to get to that here in a second. The internet is huge and it's a great way to find motivated sellers. But I think this is a sample, this is a good sample postcard for you guys to look at. I actually spent a lot of time creating this postcard and I think it came out great. So I hope that you guys can use this and, whether you decide to send out yellow letters or postcards, either of them work effectively. Just make sure you create them right and then use, the proper wording on these postcards because, if you go out there and start trying to reinvent the wheel and start putting a bunch of nonsense on these postcards, they're not going to work. These are the things that sell, guys. Words, sell your house now. We buy houses cash. Those are the things that sell. And get the motivated sellers calling you and your phone ringing. So, who do we send these yellow letters and postcards to? A lot of people have been asking, all right, awesome. We send out yellow letters, we send out postcards, but who do we send them to? Who's our target market? Well, there's a ton of lists. I talked a little bit about absentee owners, and these are guys that have, properties that they own, outside of the state. I'm sorry, that they own, they live outside of the state of where the property's at, and, they might be fed up with the house. Maybe they're in pre-foreclosure. They're behind their payments. Pre-NOD, that means pre-notice of default. And this is a pretty good list because, and again, guys, these lists, and we'll talk about it, these lists are all available through list companies. This pre-notice of default list is pretty cool because you can actually call a list company and tell them, look, I want, all the people within this particular zip code that are either 30, 60 or 90 days late on their mortgage payments. So, that's a powerful list, for some reason they're in foreclosure and you can, even if they're 30 days late, you can get the list. All that stuff is public information. Some states are a little bit more strict on that information than others. I know in Texas it's pretty tough here because they don't release that information really, but I think everywhere else in the country they're pretty willing to release that information. And you just you're gonna have to ask the list company, hey, look, do you have a pre-notice of default list in my city? We also mail to probate people, guys that have people that have inherited properties. Kind of touch base a little bit on that. And inherited properties is a great way to find, deals. Actually, probate is one of my favorite types of lists because, everyone says, oh, I always want to target foreclosure lists. Foreclosure lists and pre-foreclosure lists are the thing that everybody wants to target. But you know what? I like to do things that not everybody else is doing, so I target probate. Just kind of a small tip for you guys to do. Don't do everything that everyone else is doing. If everybody in your city, if every other wholesaler is marketing to pre-foreclosures, then you know what, guys, maybe you need to be marketing to probates, because nobody's targeting that market. Just kind of a little small tip there. Not that you don't want to market to pre-foreclosures either, but you want to tap into that market. I talked about expired listings, people that, have had their house on the market, for a while and couldn't sell their house. They got frustrated and, now they're just looking to dump it, get rid of it. Again, they might be, relocating because they got a new job offer or something. That's actually a huge, problem. A lot of people call me all the time, and a lot of my students, these sellers call them and they tell them, hey, I have my house listed on the market for 6 months and I can't sell it, and I need to be at my new job, in this city in next month, and I don't know what to do. And they're just, they've come to a wall, into a brick wall, and they need to get out of it. So again, that's a good list to mail to. Free and clear properties is also good. Guys, these are people that don't have mortgages on their house. A lot of people that have free and clear properties are sometimes maybe a little bit older individuals. They've had these properties for some years. And there's obviously free and clear. It means there's a ton of equity in these houses. But, sometimes these properties, need repairs. They've had them for so long, and they might have free and clear, they've worked so long on, paying off the mortgage, but maybe now they just don't have the money to repair the house. And they realize that they can't sell it for top, dollar or top market value, so they decide to sell it at a discount. Burnout landlords, I think this goes hand in hand with kind of the absentee owners. People that, are just sick of holding on to properties. I know myself personally, when I first moved here to Dallas, Texas, I bought a couple fourplexes. Thankfully I've sold them now, but man, I hated being a landlord. I just wanted to be a wholesaler. I wanted to be a rehabber, and that's what obviously that's what I concentrate on now. But I was kind of a burnout landlord, so if maybe somebody might have contacted me, I might have been able, we sold our fourplex for what we owed on it because I just didn't even care anymore. So it does happen, guys. And that's for me, I didn't take a loss on the property, but, for me, it was just a headache of not having to deal with that fourplex anymore. And for me, it was fantastic. So that happens all over the place. And, when you call a list company, all you need to do is call, the list company and tell them, hey, look, I'm looking for a list of people that have, rental properties in, this particular neighborhood or this particular city or this particular zip code. And it's amazing, these list companies can pull up any amount of information. It's absolutely crazy, what these people can pull up. Before I got into this business, I didn't know that, all this information was public information, but it is, guys. It's all out there. You just got to contact some list companies, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. Code violation properties. I think, somebody mentioned this in the question and answer session on Friday. That's a great tip, and I think this is maybe kind of a little bit of a bonus, tip here, but, code violation properties are great because it's things that the city has tagged as needing repairs or, just a problem type property in that particular city or in that particular neighborhood. So what you need to do for those is contact, your local, city and, tell them, hey, can I get a list of, all the code violation properties you have in this city? And, there might be a cost for it. Sometimes it's free. It just depends where you're at. Here in Dallas, they're free, so I get those lists, sent to me every month or every week, however it is that particular city works. And I mail to them. I mail to the sellers and I send them a yellow letter. Same thing with fire damage properties. Maybe you want to contact, all the fire departments in your, city and tell them, hey, look, I want a list of all the fire damage properties that, you get on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. Guys, I have, here in Dallas, I have every single fire damage house that, anything that's fire damage, I know about it. And I send a letter to every single one of them. Now you start to wonder and think, wow, that's how I was doing all these deals, because I implement all of these things in my business. I mail to these fire damage properties like crazy. It's funny because in the city of Dallas, they actually send me a daily report, on all the fire damage properties from the previous day. So if the house burns down yesterday, the seller's getting a yellow letter from me the next day or in the next couple of days, because obviously the processing of mail. I mean, it's pretty powerful stuff. Obviously the seller might need to think about, maybe do I need to make an insurance claim or do I want to sell? But they have my letter first. I'm the first one to get there. Remember, guys, I talked a lot about or a little about getting to the deal first. So I think that's a very powerful tool.
Eric, one other point on what you're talking about, like with fire damage lists and like other types of lists like that, guys, you have to think that the more hoops that investors have to jump through to get leads, the less competition there is. So
Yeah.
You got to consider that the majority of investors in your area are not going to want to go through this entire process to get, pre-NOD leads, fire damage leads. So if you can get your hands on these things, it's gold because you're not competing with as many people as, for example, a pre-foreclosure list. So, just definitely wanted to throw that out there because those are great lists.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, Alex, because when I approach the cities and I approach like the fire departments, I ask them, hey, how many people are you giving this, list to on a monthly basis or whatever? And they say, oh, only like 3 or 4. And I'm like, what? This is awesome.
Exactly.
And I guarantee you, not all those 3 or 4 people are people that buy houses. Maybe it's a public adjuster or an insurance company or something.
Right.
So if you're the only person on that list that buys houses, man, you're in for a lot of deals coming your way. So that's really good information, guys, and it's powerful. The last item that I have there is mailing to zip codes or specific neighborhoods. Sometimes, you might want to say, if somebody, and this goes kind of going back to the first module, hey, what areas do I need to be doing deals in? I kind of have everything mapped out in my business by zip codes here. That's just the way it works here. In Dallas-Fort Worth, everyone knows kind of the areas by zip code, and I know that this particular zip code is great to buy houses, and this particular zip code isn't. So maybe I'll just send out, yellow letters or postcards to one particular zip code. And guys, I'll tell you, when you mail that way, it's kind of a shotgun approach because you're just mailing to a bunch of different people, and you might get a lot of people that call you and say, oh, I'm not interested in selling my house, whatever. But hey, it's about weeding through a bunch of the nonsense leads and getting to that one person that's going to be a motivated seller. Or you can market to a specific neighborhood. If you find a particular subdivision that you've heard about in your particular city that, is just a great area to do deals, maybe you just want to only mail to that particular neighborhood. These things work, guys. And again, those list companies, can, provide those lists for you. Really quick, some list companies that you can get, information from are, for example, Dunhill, International. They are, in, I believe, Boca Raton, Florida. Their website is dunhills.com. And, there's another big list company called melissadata.com. And again, guys, don't panic if you didn't hear that. It's on the Flip Crushers Rolodex. And we're going to be giving out some more list companies and stuff where you can, get all different types of lists. And guys, these aren't the only lists that you can mail to, but these are some of the main lists that I mail to every single, month, and weekly, because these are the ones that I think are working the most effective, at least in my business. And these are the ones that I think you guys need